Andriaco, Communications Director for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. Inspired by Pope Francis and his encyclical on the environment, Laudato Si, the purpose of this gathering is to highlight what the Archdiocese is doing and what we can all do to save energy and reduce pollution in the state of Ohio. So it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, the Most Reverend Dennis M. Schnur, Archbishop of Cincinnati.
Thank you, Dan, and to all of you, good morning. And thank you for being with us at this gathering this morning. My appreciation also goes out to Father Al Hirt for hosting this and to the St. Monica St. George community. As you can tell, there are many wonderful organizations present here this morning, both Catholic and non-Catholic. They include hospitals, religious congregations, universities and businesses, nonprofits, and members of our Archdiocesan Climate Change Task Force. Each one of them is either working towards greater environmental sustainability or helping others to do so. Please refer to your press packet for a complete list of the supporters of our message today. And many of them will be available for questions after our formal remarks this morning. In June, Pope Francis issued the encyclical Laudato Si, or Praise Be, an exclamation from St. Francis of Assisi's Canticle of the Creatures. Building on the rich tradition of Catholic teaching on the environment, the Holy Father's message is an urgent call to every living person on this planet to care better for our common home. He urges us to ask ourselves how our human behaviors, including those in the political, economic, scientific, and religious spheres, are either improving or eroding our relationship with God, with each other, and with all of creation. Pope Francis asks, what kind of world do we want to leave those who come after us, to the children who are now growing up? God leads us to the answer in the book of Genesis, when he commands us to be stewards of the natural world by both tilling and keeping it. We till it so that all people in the world can live and reach their full potential. And we keep it as the earth has a beauty and a purpose in its own right. Creation is a gift that allows us to see the fullness of God. It too is journeying back with us to the Creator and must return as pristine as possible. Based on sound scientific observations, Laudato Si calls for an ecological conversation to repair the harm we've done to creation and to mitigate the impact of environmental degradation on the poor and the most vulnerable. It directs us to take seriously the scientific warnings about air, water, and land pollution, as well as human contributions to climate change, so that we can responsibly protect the life and dignity of all people and future generations. One of the ways that we can proceed together is through greater energy efficiency and renewed energy and renewable energy in our homes and institutions. I'm pleased to be joined by so many representatives of the various organizations who exemplify the vision of Laudato Si. Just speaking for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, we still have a long way to go. Yet we are making committed strides to reduce our energy usage in our archdiocesan facilities, and many of our parishes have made noteworthy investments to use less energy and to protect creation. I would now ask our Archdiocesan Director of Property Management and Real Estate, Jeff Bohr, to highlight just a few examples. Jeff?
Good morning. As the Archbishop expressed, we are taking great strides to promote and implement energy efficiency efforts in the Archdiocese. From the Archdiocese of Cincinnati property management perspective, we advocate that our parishes complete construction projects as energy efficiently as possible. LED lighting, for example, is a must for new construction and for renovations. Some of the notable projects that our parishes and schools have completed include a complete lighting and boiler upgrade at Archbishop Carroll High School in Dayton, All lights in the school were updated, saving not only significant dollars, but also considerably enhancing the quality of light in the school. The aging 60% efficient boiler was replaced by a 94% efficient unit. Local utility rebates accounted for 14% of the funding mechanism and were the push needed to make the project financially feasible. Around 20% in electricity and gas savings resulted from the upgrade itself. Because electricity in our area largely comes from burning CO2 emitting coal, this energy savings means less climate changing gases being emitted into our atmosphere. It also means less of the pollutants emitted by power plants that cause health-related illnesses in the surrounding, often poor communities. St. Martin of Tours in Cincinnati undertook an extensive LED retrofit and converted their church sanctuary and school gym to the highly efficient lighting type. The upgrade provided substantially better lighting in the spaces as well as energy cost savings. Also, the maintenance and safety issues associated with changing lights high up in the ceiling of the church have been virtually eliminated for the next several decades due to the extremely long life of LED bulbs. The chapel at Wright State University, although only 2 years old, is slated for an LED lighting upgrade. The cost of the project is about $5,000, but $2,500 in enhanced local utility rebates will make payback of this project take just 2 years, and that's over a 50% rebate coming back from the original cost. In our own headquarters offices, we at the Archdiocese have completed and are planning significant energy efficiency projects. Our Dayton office replaced lighting and furnaces and air conditioning, added programmable thermostats and motion sensors, and turned off unnecessary heating units. The result was an immediate 50% savings in electrical costs and 30% savings in natural gas costs. The project has just over a 6-year payback. Also, ready for renovation is the 9th floor of our Cincinnati headquarters. Significant effort has been made to incorporate energy efficiency into the design. Improvements include new efficient windows with triple low E film, foam and batt wall insulation, foam ceiling insulation, new HVAC and lighting control systems, occupancy control sensors, LED lighting throughout, low-flow water fixtures, and natural daylight design. These efforts are anticipated to create at least a 30% energy usage reduction for the floor. The aforementioned are just some of the efforts made in our organization. There are a wide variety of faith-based organizations and supportive businesses here which can illustrate just how much is possible. While all of our energy efficiency projects help promote stewardship for the earth, they are also financially responsible, providing short payback periods with significant energy cost savings. Understandably, energy efficiency projects can take upfront capital to implement. However, it is worth noting that many of the upgrades the Archdiocese has employed are no-cost or low-cost options. Installing programmable thermostats, turning off unnecessary equipment, and replacing bulbs with LEDs are just a few examples that don't take much money, but can provide significant energy savings. Besides including low or no-cost energy efficiency upgrades to reduce upfront capital expenses, all of these projects also used utility incentives, which were critical in helping to commit the upfront costs. The incentives also help illustrate why we think some form of state-level incentives can go a long way towards improving Ohio's energy efficiency targets. Thank you for your time. And I'd now like to ask Father Al Hurt to come forward and share some of the Care for Creation efforts at St. Monica, St. George that have been happening. Thank you.
The building that we're meeting in here this morning, we did a number of upgrades some 10 years ago. All the ballast, all the light bulbs were replaced and upgraded to be more energy efficient. And then we've also done more insulation on the ceiling of this building. Those are important and very practical. The St. Francis Pledge that you see a poster of over here is something that our parish has been participating in now for the last 6 or 7 years. Individuals in the parish have taken the pledge. The parish itself has taken the pledge. to do the kind of things that anticipates that we would do, to learn about things, to take action, to pray. So people in this parish have taken that very seriously. Just this spring, I sat outside there with about 15 members of the parish talking about our grounds. How can we make the property that we have here even more sustainable and more in tune with nature, with native plants, being careful about what kind of chemicals we use for tending the grass, making it beautiful and at the same time making it very attentive to being close to nature. The most recent project that we're about to undertake is solar panels. So we're looking at a new roof on this building, and because there's no buildings that shadow it, there's no trees high enough to shade it, it's an excellent space for solar panels. So we're looking at a major investment to try to reduce our use of coal that produces the electricity that runs this building. So if we can do a lot more with solar panels, that's certainly going to be our effort. Individuals in the parish have been very conscious of care for creation. And certainly in a Franciscan parish, that should not be a surprise to anyone, that the spirit of St. Francis that's so inspiring Pope Francis has been part of the ambiance of this parish through the past years. And so we're thrilled with the new Pope. We're thrilled with his name. We're thrilled with Laudato Si, taking the words of St. Francis right from the Italian and naming this encyclical in the spirit of St. Francis. All of this, of course, is attentive to the poor. It's not just about new lights, and it's not just about our way of life, but what we do individually and what we do as a parish, ultimately, hopefully, little by little, being attentive to those who do with so much less than we, that this consumption world in which we live that the Pope is addressing, that each of us can do something to consume less, to make the resources of the earth available to a lot more people. So welcome to this space. We're very happy that this was chosen as the spot to make this announcement today. So thank you.
My name is Dan Misla, and I'm the Executive Director of the Catholic Climate Covenant, which is a national organization based in Washington, D.C., and includes representatives on our board from the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Catholic Relief Services, Catholic Charities USA, Catholic Rural Life Conference, and 14 organizations in total. So thank you for allowing me to be here today. So on behalf of all of those national partners of the Catholic Climate Covenant, I want to thank Archbishop Schnurr for his leadership in supporting energy efficiency efforts throughout the Archdiocese. He has shown great support for the Archdiocesan Climate Change Task Force as it works to educate and advocate. And with Jeff Boer, the Archdiocesan Facilities Manager, from whom you just heard, he has shown that churches can lead by example to reduce energy use and support common sense solutions to climate change and environmental degradation. On June 18th, Pope Francis outlined a sweeping vision for how humanity is to live more in keeping with an abundant yet finite planet. He asked the haunting question, what kind of world do we want to leave to those who come after us, to children who are now growing up? In this light, the faith community, as we see here today, must act boldly by example, must engage fully in the public square to remind policymakers that the common good should be at the forefront of their concerns. For example, while businesses have a right to earn a profit, this pursuit can never be at the expense of people and the planet. This is why the U.S. Catholic bishops have supported a national standard, such as the Clean Power Plan set by the EPA on Monday, to drive down excess greenhouse gases that are contributing to unsustainable climate change. We know that more dialogue concerning this plan will be necessary for everyone impacted by it, but we must still take action soon, and the process should not be impaired. This is also why the bishops of Ohio in May of last year questioned the wisdom of freezing renewable energy and conservation standards while the state legislature studied their efficacy. The imperative of the church to raise moral concerns in the public square is also why Bishop Pates of Des Moines, Iowa, and Bishop Amos of Davenport, Iowa, recently encouraged climate change conversations to be part of the presidential campaigns and debates. And given that the first presidential candidate debate will be tomorrow night in Ohio, I hope that the candidates will embrace this dialogue and begin offering policy solutions to climate change. For Catholics and others of faith, economic and political decisions always have moral consequences. Approach with prudence and intelligence, energy conservation, and accelerated embrace of renewable energy, a renewable energy economy that saves consumer money and lives is the smart thing to do. As the bishops noted, the continued reliance on fossil fuels not only exacerbates climate change, it also contributes to the premature deaths from pollution and other health problems, especially for poor people living in vulnerable communities, both at home and abroad. I'd also like to say that this press event today is part of a series of events around the country to demonstrate that the Catholic bishops are working to more fully implement the challenges of Laudato Si. We are grateful to be part of this extraordinary day. And now I'd like to bring to the podium, and it's wrong in the press packet, but it's Joanne Gerson of the Greater Cincinnati Energy Alliance.
Thank you. So I'm here to speak to you as a homeowner. I live in a two-story house built in the 70s, in the Carter years, so there's no gas coming to our house. It's totally electric, and it runs on heat. So about 15 years ago, we started looking into... Is that better?
Yes.
Should I start over? So we live in a two-story house built in the 70s and the Carter years, and it's totally electric. Our upstairs doesn't get comfortable. In the summer it's hot, in the winter it's cold. So we started looking into ways to make our home more comfortable. And we hired an organization that came out and did a brief assessment and said, you need to do the following things. And then we asked, how do we do that? And we said, well, just find some contractors. So that wasn't very helpful. Then we hired, you get in the mail, Duke Energy says they'll come out and do an assessment. And they essentially did the same assessment, but they gave us weather stripping and some light bulbs and little niceties, shower things. So that was a little nicer. It was interesting that their assessment was really very much the same, but again, they couldn't tell us who to hire. So I was a little intimidated by the work we had to do and had no idea who to hire. And somebody recommended. Now we're a few years later. Somebody said, check out the Greater Cincinnati Energy Alliance. I gave them a call. They were, I have to tell you, amazing. So first, they come out and they do a blower door test, and the test blows air out of the house, and then they go around and they find leaks where air, and they have a little meter, and they measure the leaks coming into your house, and they can tell you exactly what you need where. Nobody had done this before for us. Then they write up a very detailed evaluation report with photographs and numbers and everything, and then they gave us cost estimates, how much everything would cost. And then they tell us, but you can get local, state, and federal incentive programs are here to help you. So that brings the cost down considerably, which it did. So after they provided information on who to hire, contractor was certified and approved by Greater Cincinnati Energy Alliance, so we felt comfortable that they would be good. They were excellent, easy to work with. They did things that, for example, our roof under the soffits was straight wood. There was no ventilation into the roof. So the contractor replaced all of the soffits with ventilating soffits and then put in on the interior of the roof channels so that the air would flow up, and put in a ridge vent. None of this was there before, and then they put in new insulation. So all of this improved the air on the second floor. It was much more comfortable because now the attic wasn't so hot or so cold. After the contractors completed all the work, then the people that did the blower door test came back. They did a second blower door test, and they went around and measured everything. And now they could give me a second report that told me exactly how much the improvement was. And they also found a few places where they felt it wasn't enough, and they made the contractor come back and even, do a little bit more. So all the details I could go into, long list of things that they did, but what really impressed me was the help. So the help with the money, the help with the contractors, and so after we did all this, then a few years later, now our house is tight, we put on solar panels, and I can't tell you how exciting that is. So in May, our bill was 0. Ooh. So I hope you can encourage all your friends and family to do the same with their homes. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all the presenters that gave their presentations this morning. And once again, I want to thank all of you for being here. I'd like to conclude the formal part of this event by emphasizing that all of us can do something to ensure that the planet remains as God intended. We are calling on all residents to use less and save more energy. We are asking local utilities and businesses to prioritize programs for energy efficiency and use fewer fossil fuels in energy production and economic activities. We are calling on policymakers at all levels to prioritize care for creation in their considerations. This can include more energy efficiency and renewable energy initiatives from the state, as well as programs of national carbon standards, which, as has been mentioned, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops supports. There can be robust and healthy debates about how we go about establishing effective policies, but we must still act to guide market forces and individual actions toward the common good. As Pope Francis has stated, on many concrete questions, the Church has no reason to offer a definitive opinion. She knows that honest debate must be encouraged among experts while respecting divergent views. But we need only take a frank look at the facts to see that our common home is falling into serious disrepair. We can always do something to solve our problems. Therefore, let us, with a sense of joy and hope, share in the ecological conversation together, so that we can restore our relationship with each other and with all of creation in a manner that gives due praise to our common Creator. And now at this time, I invite questions for any of the speakers, as well as for any of the representatives of the organization here present. Dan, are you going to handle the questions? Okay. I assign you.
For the Archbishop, what would you say to
But Duke Energy, for example, with climate change debate on the table in DC now and the president's plan, power industry will fight this plan. What would you say to Duke and the other major players where most of the greenhouse gases are coming from?
Well, I think, I have mentioned to a few of you that I think the tone of the Holy Father's encyclical is very important, is that I don't think anyone can deny that we can do better. And so the thing is to be willing to to enter into honest dialogue and to share ideas and to really look to the common good. As also has been emphasized, businesses have a right to make a profit, but they cannot. But that profit has to be made always focusing on the common good. And so, basically, what the Holy Father is calling for is let's not put this challenge kind of in the background, but let's keep it right up front. Let's keep a strong dialogue going as to how we can incrementally, at least, make this a better world in which we live.
Other questions? John?
Questions for Archbishop Schnurr. I just wanted to ask, they mentioned some of the things that people can do practically, adding new light bulbs, and working on different ways to make your homes more energy efficient. How important is it, at least addressing the faithful, the Catholics of the Archdiocese, to keep prayer a part of this and any initiative when we're trying to care for our common home?
Okay, did everyone hear the question? How important is it to encourage the faithful of the Archdiocese to make this a part of their prayer? And, prayer is a very important part of any honest dialogue, so that we, in our prayer, we ask God to guide us in our discussions so that these discussions focus not so much on what I want or what I think needs to be done, but what is the common good. And so, yes, in our prayers, it is always, this is a question that we always have to be asking ourselves. Is this something that is kind of driven by my own objectives, or is this something that is driven by the common good? And the one who can guide us always towards the common good is God responding to our prayers.
I think your leadership is commendable in this area. My question is, will the priests of the diocese be asked to address this issue in each of the parishes?
Yes, I think as Jeff has mentioned, actually, some of the parishes have already made significant strides, and we do have a policy in the Archdiocese that if significant improvements, repairs are being done on any of the properties to which I'm the trustee, the Archbishop of Cincinnati is the trustee of every parish in this Archdiocese. So any institution, any parish, any Catholic institution under the sponsorship of the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, if they're going to do improvements, they all have to come through my office, and Jeff is very astute. But so that is being done. But I know what you're saying is, what do we do? What are we doing to get the priests and other parish leadership into the spirit of all of this? That is something that, in light of the encyclical, we certainly were aware of the importance of environmental concerns, but with Holy Father's encyclical, it provides us all the more with an incentive, and we are putting together materials to help our priests present the message to their parishioners. But quite candidly, I do think that most of our priests are already there. I mean, the whole concern for God's creation, it is something that I think is, it's very, with everyone in this room, the religious communities represented in this room, it's a very important issue. I think it's a very important issue for our priests as well.
I think we'll take one more.
So I teach at Ohio State University in Columbus, and I just want to commend the Archdiocese on this education issue. I came down maybe 4 or 5 years ago for a climate change education different parishes showed up to this day-long event to learn about climate change. This was 4 or 5 years ago. So I think it really is true. I study religion and the environment. That's what I teach about. I've never seen a better example of an education event and engagement throughout a diocese or an archdiocese in this case. People come together. It wasn't just teaching about climate change. It was also looking at prayer. It was looking at liturgy. There was worship going on. There were local examples for the parishes. So I do think that the Cincinnati Archdiocese is one of the best examples in the entire country of the kind of engagement that you might look to for leadership in engaging in the kinds of charge that we're getting out of Laudato Si. So my question, so thank you for that. All being very modest and how greatly this Archdiocese has engaged. But maybe you could say more about some of the other educational resources that exist that for those parishes or for those individuals who would like to study a little bit more and see what else is possible. Maybe there are some resources nationally or within the diocese or for social action that somebody can highlight.
I'm going to call on Tony Sturtz to respond to that, I was in Columbus just about a month ago or so, and I perhaps met one of your students, a young man, Tony Lonekamp, who's studying ecology. And I have to tell you, it was just a few days before the publication or the promulgation of the encyclical of the Holy Father. And I said to him, I says, well, he said he was studying ecology. I said, you must be very excited about the new encyclical coming out. Well, this guy went ecstatic. So if that's what you're doing at Ohio State, thank you very much.
Thank you, Archbishop, and thanks for the question. He wasn't a plant, I swear. Thank you for saying all that great. So a lot of what we want to provide to parishes and the faithful and religious communities, whoever else we could support, it has to be done in close partnership with so many of the national partners like the Catholic Climate Covenant, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Catholic Conference of Ohio, many great organizations and what religious communities. After the encyclical has come out, there is so much more that we have access to at this point, and so much more being developed that we are energized to get out to parishioners. So I want to put a plug in for the Archdiocesan Climate Change Task Force, and a number of the members are wonderfully here. They help tell you where to park and how to find this place. So it's a great group of people, and they are committed and dedicated to answering that very question and empowering our parishes and Catholic institutions throughout the Archdiocese to really carry this message forward. So I think you'll be seeing a lot more of it. I just want to say, too, one of the concrete things we're planning right now is what we call faithful sustainability gatherings throughout the Archdiocese, where we invite both everyday parishioners, homeowners, to come together, as well as parish facility managers to come together to start sharing these kinds of best practices that we talked about at this precedent. So that's what we want to start ramping up and doing more and more of, so that we can both learn and take action. So, thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming. That wraps it up, and please feel free to have some coffee or tea and pastries.